What is going on, everybody? This is episode 834 of Pop Culture Crisis, dealing with some minor technical difficulties here. Getting started. My name is Brett, and I am here with my co-host. Introduce yourself, please.
Hello, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. I hope all is well with the stream. Are we good?
I mean, I can't tell you.
Okay.
We'll just go for it.
We can't tell, but it's hopefully fine. And today I am happy to announce that we have brought back a friend of the show, Libby, to the studio, our new studio.
Yep.
Have you been to the new studio?
Yes, it's just been a while.
Yep.
You were here one time that I recall.
I was here one time with, I think you're not remembering. I think I've been here like 3 times.
Really? Maybe
Maybe.
when I was out. I don't know. But
I don't know.
remember
I
one
remember
time
the
that you
last time I was here with Phil too.
Yes. Yeah.
And he tricked me into doing IRL at the same time.
Well, whenever we have you here, you kind of raise the intellectual caliber. So we're going to have to pretend to be really smarty pants today.
I mean, you can do that. I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
I don't do
I'm
that.
glad to come talk about culture with you guys. It's my preferred topics.
What? You don't want to talk about Gaza? Okay. Guys, we
It
have
will
a bunch
come
of,
up.
It
It
will
will.
actually,
I saw the list.
it will come up. We have a bunch of stuff to get into today, but before we get started, would you hit the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel? If you are new here and you have not subscribed here yet already, please and thank you. Remember to share this episode out with everyone that you know. The more people that you share the content with, the faster this channel can grow, whether on YouTube or on Rumble. We are multi-streaming right now on both platforms, so be sure to share the content out with everybody on whichever platform that you are using. So thank you guys so much for that. So
someone in the chat is saying Mary is drunk.
yeah.
I am very offended. I feel attacked right now. I am sober as a skunk.
I was more offended by the person who said I screwed something up and that you were fixing it for me. I was like, I
am not on the control panel. I'm not the squirrel on the control panel here.
I was like, I'm a man, okay? I can fix my own shit. Meanwhile, there's like a duplicate stream up and everything's messed up.
Everything's fine.
That's fine. Guys, we have a bunch to get into today. So number one being, you will live to see man-made horrors beyond your comprehension, and that is what we are going to talk about today. There is a new trend going around where women on OnlyFans are promoting it with a Down syndrome filter, and it's every bit as awful as it sounds. We are going to get into it. A bunch of people have responded. We'll show you some examples of just how stupid and awful this is. So it will at least, it won't be boring today. So we're going to talk about that. Also, if you remember last year, Sebastian Stan, you know, of Marvel fame, starred in a Donald Trump biopic called The Apprentice. Well, there's apparently a brand new $100 million biopic being made about Donald Trump from the guy who brought you Ferrari, the Michael Mann Ferrari, the producer, not Michael Mann himself. And this one is going to be a more kinder representation, a kindler, gentler Donald Trump. So we're gonna talk about that. We're also gonna talk about Wokefishing. If you don't know what that is, I believe we talked about it on the show at least one time. I think we did. But Maren Morris, who has the most impressive resting bitch face I've ever seen in my entire life, she always looks like she's smelling something awful. Talks about, you know, meeting men on dating apps that pretend to be progressive so that they can get in with the ladies, which seems like a really bad plan long term
For everyone
but
involved.
my
yeah.
guess is that the men aren't thinking long term. They're thinking about as far out as their crotch, and that's about it. So we're going to talk about that. We got a bunch of other stuff. If you ladies are ready, we can just get going. Mary, you ready?
I'm ready.
Libby,
Yeah, all set.
let's go.
Over Mother's Day, Amber Heard welcomed 2 new children, twins. She posted about it on Instagram, and instantly all of the rumors about who the father might be started swirling, and my theory is that it's Elon Musk. Actually, a lot of people think that the father of her first child, her daughter Unog, is
Not
Elon.
Unog. Unog is
Her,
the name?
I don't know if I pronounced that
it's Una.
correctly.
It's an
Is
Irish
it
name.
Irish?
Is it
Una?
Una?
It's an Irish
It's just
name.
Una.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's Una.
Her daughter Una possibly was fathered by Elon Musk, and he definitely has more children than is publicly known, and she might be one of the baby mamas. I have said she's maybe the most well-behaved Elon Musk baby mama because she has never outed him or gone into detail about the situation. But she posted this on Instagram, a photo of her and the baby's feet, which is a little creepy. Mother's Day 2025 will be one I'll never forget. This year, I'm elated beyond words to celebrate the completion of the family I've strived to build for years. So the family is complete, just without a father. Today I officially shared the
Something's
news
missing here.
that I welcomed twins into the herd gang. My daughter Agnes and my son Ocean are keeping my hands and heart full. When I had my first baby girl, Una, 4 years ago, my world changed forever. I thought I couldn't possibly burst with more joy. Well, now I am bursting times 3, becoming a mother by myself and on my own terms, despite my fertility challenges, has been the most humbling experience of my life. I'm eternally grateful that I was able to choose this responsibility thoughtfully. To all the moms, wherever you are today and however you got here, my dream family and I are celebrating with you. Love always, A.
You know what I love is a $20 super chat, which we got here from Shane H. Wilder that we missed.
I didn't see that.
No, it's because we had the technical difficulties at the beginning. That's my fault.
Happy Taco Tuesday, Brett, Mary, and Libby. KFC must be stopped. This month it's gravy ice cream. Last month it was fried chicken flavored toothpaste. They removed the plaque from fat teeth and put it in their arteries.
Yeah, I did post about this earlier.
Fat ass's teeth.
I assumed that it was some type of troll, and I guess it is. But, you know, the thing is that they have mastered the ability to make fake flavors taste exactly like what they're supposed to taste like.
I would definitely try gravy ice cream.
Oh my god,
that's disgusting.
I would
So
totally
we've been
try
going-
The mac and cheese ice cream and
I would try that.
the pizza ice cream, disgusting.
Wow.
Mary's face.
Were they bad?
I would have loved to
Yeah.
have gotten a picture of Mary's face when she ate the mac and cheese ice
I wish
cream.
I'd known about this
Ugh.
because I would have tried it.
It was disgusting.
It was. I didn't try it. She tried it. I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
We've been eating. So we've been going out
'Cause you
for a
don't hate
lot of.
yourself.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
We've been going out for a lot
But I
of
would love
like
to try
ice
it.
cream on the weekends lately. And one place I will never be going for ice cream is KFC.
Yeah, no, never.
Like we go to Sweet Frog. We go to like Red Barn, which is over here. Never in my life have I ever woken up and thought I want some ice cream. Let's go to KFC.
I
No.
had some Rita's custard this weekend.
Ooh, love that.
Yeah.
Love
A nice
Rita's.
twist. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, so people reported on this exclusively, and she has remained very private about her family life. But she's proud of the fact that she has crafted this family meticulously and on her own terms, which means without a father involved.
Well, in about
That's it.
15 years, when they all come out as trans and non-binary, we'll probably learn more about it because they'll hate her and they'll hate that they never had a dad, and they'll expose everything.
No, they won't.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see how that ends up hurting her because she would be 100%
No,
on board.
We'll just know.
Well, because there will only be one possible culprit.
Yes.
It would be her.
Right.
I imagine that she does have help with raising the kids because she now has a 4-year-old and 2 babies. And I can't imagine that would be easy doing that as a single mother by choice. She probably has hired help.
A friend of mine who had that many kids, but also a husband, but also like a full-time job, she had round-the-clock nannies. They switched off.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think there were 3 of them, and they just worked round the clock.
But, like, it doesn't need to be like this, you know? There's no reason why you should, you know, plan to be a single mother. I mean, it happens to a lot of people, and it's generally considered as not the ideal situation. But Amber Heard has chosen this life for herself, which is psychotic, truly.
It is definitely psychotic.
It's not even self-interested because, as I said, it's incredibly challenging to choose to raise these children alone. But also, of course, you're doing a major disservice to these children who didn't have a choice in the matter.
Yeah.
To be raised without any father figure, and she apparently doesn't think it's important to have one.
There's so many storylines in movies and television shows over the last 20 years of like the single professional woman who goes through IVF so that she can have kids later in life.
With a sperm donor?
Yeah, I mean, like they did it with House. They did it with Cuddy wanting a kid, and it ended up not working, and she ended up adopting. But it's definitely a storyline that's so common in America now, that the idea of raising kids without both parents, and there's also 25 to 30 years of like your parents are going to get divorced and everything sucks propaganda that went on when I was a kid, where all the stories were about what it's like to be a kid with newly divorced parents and stuff like that. So it's not even thought about anymore, and that's a little bit different, obviously, because you still have both parents, they're just not together. But I mean, how many Disney characters have one parent and definitely not both of them?
Well, there's a lot of widows and widowers in those Disney things.
Right.
Yes.
But also, there's a lot of times that it's just totally unexplained. And you just sit
Yeah.
there wondering, like, where's the other parent? Where's the mom? And often, if they really want to make the kids sympathetic, they give them no mom.
Right. That's a strange thing,
Yeah.
isn't it? Usually in those TV shows, they don't have a mom
Yeah.
involved
Yeah.
specifically, and the story goes that their mom died of something. They can use it as a plot device later
Plus,
on in
yeah.
the show.
Dead mom, like widowed, like husband with a dead wife is more sympathetic somehow, I think, than wife with a dead husband.
Even husband, dad with a wife who ran off
Yeah.
is more sympathetic than a mom with a
That was always very
dad
common
who
as well. And I think that's because
runs off.
when maybe this is just my own interpretation, but when I think of it, I think of like people hear about a woman whose husband dies or runs off and they just imagine they're going to remarry. But there's more of a romanticization of the idea of the husband whose wife leaves and he never dates again, or his wife dies and he never dates again, and he focuses on the family because that was like his one true love.
But
like,
the other thing too is if a woman character does that, then everyone views her as like pathetic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For the guy, it's romantic. For
Yeah.
the woman, it's pathetic.
It's like
Double
yeah,
standards.
it's totally a double standard.
Sucks to
But
be
yeah,
y'all.
I feel like I think it's a mistake to intentionally create a family with one parent missing.
Yeah.
Like we're manufacturing these half-made orphans. You see it with like gay couples who have surrogates and the child grows up without ever knowing anything about their mother. You see it in situations like this with sperm donors.
Yeah.
And it's like a vanity baby.
Right.
It's like, look at this. This is my prize. This is my trophy. I made it all by myself. Who cares how they feel? Who cares what their life is
Yeah.
really going to be like internally without with this missing person in it?
Cynically, I'm thinking that when they do that in the storytelling, it's literally just because it costs less to have both parents.
Probably,
you only
yes.
have to cast the husband, and it makes for manufactured drama that
Yes.
has emotional stakes, but not. So, okay, think of it like this: we have both parents and a child, and the parents argue, or the parents have something going on with the child. There's emotional stakes, and there's 3 people. Or you have a dead spouse. One living spouse and a child, and you have emotional stakes, and only 2 people. That's like way less money that you have
Right,
to pay, and way less scenes you have to block.
More drama, less
Yeah.
expenses.
Also, then you don't have like the parents' relationship to deal with.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is always can be,
simplifies
yeah.
things.
And they want to
be
end
a
up,
little much.
and then they want to move on, and they want to see if that person can end up dating someone else, and they start bringing in the parade of people to have him to have screen tests,
like on
with
The
and-
Nanny.
Exactly.
Right.
So
Yeah.
there's all sorts of reasons why they do stuff like that, but also I imagine a lot of it was, and I talked with someone about this before, was like, I don't think that it's the same type of. I mean, you could talk about what you were talking about, which is like couples that use surrogacy and stuff like that. But if we're just talking about divorced parents and storytelling, a lot of it's just because a lot of these Hollywood writers probably came from families where that's what they knew, and then they're just writing about what they knew growing up, or how, at least maybe how they imagined it.
Right.
And I don't think that's necessarily predictive programming as much as it is them trying to like deal with their own trauma through their art.
Well, that's what writers
much
are
as-
always trying to do is like figure
Yeah.
out how to deal with their own childhood.
as
I
much
had a
as you
professor
wanna-
who said that one time, and she was like, I write plays to try and figure out what happened to me as a child.
Well, they always say that you can learn more about a writer from the work that they're making rather than the work itself, right? That it says more about what who the person is, what they decide to write about, and how they write.
Yeah.
So Amber Heard is also, now she doesn't have to worry about acting anymore if this is Elon's kid, because she's going to get
Right.
a nice stipend.
Yeah.
And I wonder if there's an Elon baby mama group chat with like her
Oh,
and
there
Ashley
should be.
Sinclair.
But
And-
there have to be multiple because they've formed factions.
Well, that's what I'm
and
saying.
Some
How
of them
many-
hate
and
each
we
other.
don't even know how many there are.
We don't know the confirmed number either. Someone on Twitter asked Grok to tell them who is the father of Amber Heard's new babies, and it says there are unconfirmed rumors, including speculation about Elon Musk due to the past embryo-related claims from her 2022 defamation trial with Johnny Depp, but no credible evidence supports this. And it is true. I think there were even rumors Elon Musk was going to get called to testify in the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial at the time, because he allegedly had knowledge of her claims against Johnny Depp at the time that they were dating. But she has not been in a public relationship for years at this point, and there's no way of really knowing who the father is.
The men have ran
It's
the other
sick,
way.
though, because a lot of children conceived by IVF with sperm donors are finding each other nowadays, and they can find out their batch number. And they've started Facebook groups to find each other, the ones who have the same sperm donor father, and find information about him.
I read a play about that.
Really?
In 2008. It was called
before its time.
Yeah, and then like somebody did it as a movie, and I was like, screw you guys. Like, I wrote this.
Yeah.
And we had a reading at Williamstown. And it was like, because it was a commission, and it was this whole, it was very cool, but it was called like I forget what the number was, but it was like the numbers RU 586 or whatever.
Whoa.
And it was, and eventually we performed like a really shorter version of it, but instead of like the full length. But it was about this kid who finds out that his dad's not really his dad, and that his mom got a sperm donor.
Yeah.
And then the marriage breaks up because the dad is like betrayed. And then he puts out like a, call for, he's like, it was before Ancestry and all that. So he starts like looking for people. He tries to track back through the sperm donor bank.
Right.
And then he has a big party for everybody to show up and like do a meet and greet. And it was staged in this bar downtown in New York, Bowery Poetry Club. And it was like, we had like 20 actors doing it, and all of them were kind of like a little awkward and weird, and they had like slight similarities, and it was a fun project. But yeah, that's been going on for a long time, because around that same time, like 2007, 2008, it was revealed that there was this one sperm donor,
right,
who had like 1,000 kids or something, and it was really, everyone was super creeped out by it.
It is creepy. They're right to be creeped out. This is a real thing, and a lot of times some of the parents who pay for the sperm donor don't know all of the facts about who this person is, and they're falsely advertised as having different height or different, skin color, eye color, hair color, or professions are also listed for sperm donors as well. And then come to find out years down the line, they're not who they claim to be, and they have hundreds of children out there in the world that end up finding each other. And it's just, can you imagine having hundreds of half-siblings just out there? Usually they're located in like the same general region too, because the parents who were buying from that specific donor lived in that region. So you've just been like in the same town as someone who's related to you that closely, and like, you'd have no idea.
You might find out that you might end up in a relationship with them.
And
not know.
That's
like,
a thing
that
too.
Happens.
Just so disturbing. Yeah,
it's like Genghis Khan, but like sperm bank.
Russell in the chat says X-Files clone children. Yes, that episode name was Eve. That was in season 1.
Yeah.
With all the kids from the in vitro fertilization clinic.
Those sperm donor babies, grow up and they have a lot to say about the industry, and generally speaking, don't feel right about the way that they were conceived. And it's funny because then, if you say anything negative about IVF or sperm donors or surrogacy or whatever, people will accuse you of being a heartless monster because you just don't understand people's reasons. But, I think there are plenty of examples of people who were conceived through these methods that will happily, talk about their ethical qualms with it. And they're within their right to do so. So Amber Heard's kids may be one of them.
All right, let us move on.
It is final exam season, and students at Columbia University were probably in the library studying for their exams when a gigantic swarm of students came to protest against Israel, and they stormed the library at Columbia. One of them was Maggie Gyllenhaal's daughter, Ramona Sarsgaard. I had never heard of this girl before, but she is 18 years old. She is a legacy student. Not only her
the whole family went to Columbia.
Yeah, her uncle, Jake Gyllenhaal, went there before dropping out. Her grandmother also went there, and I believe she has another relative who is on staff as a professor there. So she is basically sent to this Ivy League school as the Nepo baby of a couple of Hollywood elites, and it's her playground to cause political unrest. And she was then arrested for her participation in this protest on a charge of trespassing. I don't know how that works because she is a student there, so I don't know.
Yeah, but so like what happened was, so because I was writing about this last week, I'm fascinated by all crazy things that happened at Columbia. But a bunch of students were studying in the Butler Library, which is the main library, and it's connected to another smaller library, but like that's where everybody always is when they're studying. It's like the place, it's the south side of the quad. So all these students are in there studying, and all of these people like show up and storm their way in.
Right.
And the way that they got arrested for trespassing is that public safety, which is a group of, like Columbia affiliated officers that Columbia decided they had to hire in order to comply with Trump's whole federal funding ban thing. So they said, you can show us your ID and leave, or you can not show us your ID and get arrested.
Okay, so she decided not to ID herself as a student and chose to get arrested for clout?
Yeah, I think a lot of it's clout. And if you see the people like getting arrested on that day and being escorted out the back of the building, they're all like,
oh my god,
very pleased with themselves. Last year, Ilhan Omar's daughter got arrested for trespassing and whatever at Columbia, and because she's a Barnard, she was a Barnard student, and Ilhan Omar was there on campus, being like, "Oh, you guys are so good, calling for destruction of Israel, yay!" Yeah.
What is what is the makeup of Columbia? That's mostly wealthy families, I assume.
I don't know. I think there's a lot of foreign students.
Okay.
There's definitely a lot of wealthy students. There's a lot of people on scholarship because they have their whole diversity thing.
Okay.
And so they make sure.
But in the show Blue Bloods, Frank Reagan, who plays the police commissioner of New York City's his granddaughter goes to Columbia, and she like wants him to speak at the college, and they're like, that's a horrible idea, because they're going to be mad at him. They're going to call him a fascist. This was back in 2015. This episode was, and he goes and he gets shouted down
for being the police commissioner.
For being the police commissioner, and she goes by her dad's last name at school so that she doesn't get pushback. There's also a really funny episode where a girl who talks endlessly about social justice harms herself and like fakes an attack on herself to get sympathy. So it lets you know where the writer's views lie, or did lie, on that show.
So Maggie Gyllenhaal's daughter was one of nearly 80 agitators arrested storming the library last week, and at least 2 of these school safety officers were injured. The charge was criminal trespassing. I don't think there's a mugshot out there anywhere.
I didn't see one.
She wasn't confirmed to be suspended by the school, but there were several students who were suspended as a result.
Also, the last name is Sarsgaard, not Skarsgård.
Skarsgård. Yeah. She's Peter Sarsgaard's daughter.
Isn't
I have
like
an inkling.
Famous person too.
Yeah. He's a director, I believe.
That's right.
But I have an inkling this might come from some sort of teenage rebellion against her parents, because her dad is presumably more an Israel supporter.
I have no idea what either of her parents think about politics.
Well, he hasn't been very outspoken about it, but last year he was filming this movie that was seen as pro-Israel propaganda called September 5th, which was about the Munich massacre. And while that was filming, they were actually getting protested. But the movie is about Palestinian terrorists who took Israeli Olympian athletes hostage in 1972. So the fact that he was so involved in that movie.
Wasn't there murdering too?
I didn't watch the movie or read up on the Munich massacre, so I'm not sure. But people presumed that based on his involvement in that movie last year, that her dad is pro-Israel, and she obviously is incredibly anti-Israel.
Funny that he was the district attorney in the Batman, given that she played obviously Rachel.
Right.
Maggie Gyllenhaal played Rachel in The Dark Knight.
And Maggie Gyllenhaal hasn't really said much about the issue either, but she did play an Israeli billionaire in a TV series back in 2014 who was using her family business to promote peace and resolution between Israel and Palestine. And other than that, I haven't seen anything about Maggie Gyllenhaal's stance. But Ramona's grandmother, Maggie Gyllenhaal's mother, is also pro-Palestine and went to Columbia and recalls being involved in political unrest on the campus as well back in her day.
What was that, like 68 or something?
She said in an interview like 20 years ago, I went wild about her time at college, where her best friend was Eleanor Stein, who went on to become the fugitive leader of the terror group Weather Underground. The radical leftist outfit undertook a number of attacks in the U.S., including the March 1970 bombing of a Greenwich Village townhouse. She said, "I still thought we could do it in the system." And yeah, it seems like she comes from a long line of political agitators, so it's perfectly within the realm of possibility for her. But I do think this is more teenage rebellion against her parents than it is about her own ideological worldview.
Well, I mean, that's kind
It's
of
about rebelling against dad.
I feel like that's been like something we've kind of pushed into Americana, is that your job in college is to go and protest and find out who you are by caring about a country that has nothing to do with you.
And she's never had to earn anything in her life. And she's at Columbia because of her parents, obviously. So at this point, she's just bored. And
it used to be that you're supposed to go to college and like make a mess of everything, but not in political way.
Yeah.
Make a mess of your own life.
You were
and
supposed
not
to
other
like
people's
drink
lives.
a lot and ride around in shopping carts and pledge for sororities or whatever.
Yeah,
Is that what it's
yeah.
called? That's what you were supposed to do before, and now you're supposed to do this. And a lot of it is because the professors have decided that their job is to teach you how to be activists. Like last year on Columbia's campus, right, which was ridiculous. They set up all these tents on the quad and like were using camp bathrooms, like camp toilets, and they're paying like tuition is $60,000, right? You get a dorm.
Yeah,
you
these
have,
are all
like,
kids with access to...
You have an apartment in Manhattan, and you're choosing to, like, poop in a bucket on the lawn like an animal. I mean, it's just so disgusting. But they all showed, like, so professors showed up at the protest last year and were like, "You're out here living what we taught you. Yeah. This is what you're doing." I mean, it's so ridiculous. This is what they thought that's the most important thing to teach these kids, is how to go tear up the university that is paying their rent and whatever else.
It's because we got rid of bullying, and it would have been jocks and frat bros and finance bros bullying these people before, calling them dorks. And
we
can't do that anymore.
20 from the Manic Mustache. "I spent hours watching shorts of the restoration of antique lighters, so when the apocalypse finally comes, I'll have the skills set to effortlessly make fire while atop my red battle panda. Kids survival book coming soon."
It is. See, it's
That's
always
fun.
good to watch people. I like shorts and videos of like the restoration of vintage video game systems, where they take it completely apart, they clean it, they put in new components and everything. And I think about how I could never in my lifetime have the attention span to do that, but I certainly have the attention span to watch somebody else do that. It's very sad.
We have another story of rebellion against parents, though, in the case of Vivian Wilson, Elon Musk's estranged trans-identifying child, male to female. Vivian was seen dancing at a drag event recently to just show, Elon what for.
I mean, that's the thing, though. I don't think that the kid said anything about this being about her dad. TMZ kind of said that, because it ends up the way TMZ frames it ends up being the last thing that people actually believe. It's like when somebody says, like, "I don't care about my haters," but yet you took the time to acknowledge them, which means you do care.
TMZ says Vivian was fully in her element at RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars party in NYC, showing off her moves, whipping her hair, and catwalking like it was Fashion Week, all while the crowd hyped her up.
Dragging out these moves just for you, Dad, which is just another way of saying you're living rent-free in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you didn't care, you wouldn't care. But that's not the kid saying
right.
this. This is TMZ's interpretation.
Well, It does seem that Vivian has a major fixation with, talking shit about Elon in the public eye. And that's really all he is known for, is talking about the fact that Elon is his dad and that he's a monster. But, I mean, I think this is a natural consequence of the way that Elon creates these weird family structures because he wasn't involved.
See, in the chat, Rick C says, we don't care. See, I think if you take the time to say that you don't care, you care at least a little bit.
Yeah, at least just a smidge.
The amount of people who come into like videos that we do and are like, who cares about this? It's like you literally took the time to click on the video to watch. So in some way, shape, or form, you do. However minuscule that might be, you do care.
PCC cares.
Yeah. We care.
We're making a heart right now if you're listening rather than watching.
Yeah, it does seem weird that Vivian takes so much time to go after her dad instead his dad. Do you guys have pronoun
I said
rules?
his because it's a male.
Fine. It's definitely a male person.
Yeah.
But it takes so much time to go after Elon Musk instead of doing something on their own merit. Maybe he has no merit.
Living well is the best revenge. If you actually wanted to get revenge on Elon Musk, you would just go and live your life and
What
be
do you
happy.
mean? Vivian is living her best life slaying.
And to be fair, Vivian did not say that this was for her dad.
No, just shared
His
a
dad,
video, right?
whatever.
Just shared a video of the.
Yeah. Well, I mean, then did you just not share any videos for the rest of your life ever to prove that you don't care? I don't know.
The sense of entitlement is just crazy.
Yeah.
I
guarantee you Elon is still paying somehow.
Oh, yeah,
There's
for
still
sure.
money involved
for
in this.
sure. And
definitely like child support, right?
Well, Vivian is an adult,
adult.
so not child support, but definitely, there is money flowing. Like there's no way that Vivian is completely cut off from.
This is the one where Elon said like the woke mind virus took my son.
Yes, yes, correct. And maybe not the only one,
Yeah.
because he's an absentee father and he should probably take responsibility for that.
And for all of the rest of them.
Yeah.
Well, he does like to talk about population collapse and all these things. Everything except for like getting a Father's Day card.
Bro is talking about population collapse and has one son that sterilized himself for life.
Well, you know what it is? He's like, look, 12 out of 13 ain't bad.
Right.
Like,
It's just a numbers game at this point.
he's like Grok, how many more do I have to create to make up for this?
Yikes.
All right. What would you guys like to see? Cringe or cute of the day?
Libby, it's up to you.
I would like to see the cringe.
Cringe first?
Yeah.
It's a pretty bad one, actually.
Bad?
Really?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I
Here we
just
go.
can't imagine being this insane.
All right. Let's refresh it.
Always. To everyone in this currently affected by the Trump administration, listen to me now. Do not give up. Do not stop fighting. Fight for you. Fight for your family. Fight for everyone you know. Because this country is headed towards a second fucking Holocaust.
Bow!
Always.
Yeah.
Wait, first of all, this
Is that a
country
valedictorian speech?
can't be headed toward a second Holocaust because we didn't have a first one. So that's a different country that had that kind of thing.
Right.
Second of all, like, why would you be cursing at your...
Someone said
There's-
she's hungry.
There's no...
She
yeah.
looks hungry.
Well, hangry maybe, but yeah,
Ooh.
like there's no decorum anymore. Don't they say that all the swearing is a sign of low intelligence? That's why I swear all the time. But if she's the valedictorian, she shouldn't be swearing.
Revoke the diploma.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a report a couple years ago that swearing was a sign of high intelligence?
I read that the other day, and I was like,
You know
it's
what? I'm
either a
just gonna choose
typo
to
or it's
believe
just
that.
one of those. I call those like all of those types of articles. It's like death by factoid, which is like you can make up a story to fit literally anything. It's like not exercising will help you live 35 years longer, and then they just get one person to state one obscure study, and then they write an article about it at the New York Post. So
Right.
maybe it's a sign of high intelligence or low intelligence, but I would argue that swearing when your voice isn't going up an octave probably would be a sign of low intelligence, whereas just calmly swearing is a sign of intelligence.
Interesting.
Like that looks like emotional dysregulation and antidepressants to me, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, she needs help.
A little delusional, that's what it looks like.
I could be
You
wrong. And she looks like she needs some better compression socks.
Meanwhile, like, yeah, all these, oh my goodness.
Oh no.
I don't
Sorry.
even have my glasses on, and yeah.
So he says in the chat, Hiroshima Utaro says, it isn't a sign of anything. I would argue you're probably correct. And that the annoying people are the ones who have these studies who are like, did you know that drinking 2 cups of coffee will help you live 900 years longer? Did you? And then the next.
Did you know coffee will kill you?
Or yeah, have you ever seen the ones where, have you ever seen the fitness ones where it's like, why you should drink water? And then it shows you another video of another person like, why water is the worst thing you could ever drink. Why you should eat a lot of protein. Protein will kill you. You'll, pick your influencer and you'll pick the person with the factoid to fit whatever you want to be true.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's, since we're in the middle of another effing Holocaust, let's move on. Let's do cute of the day to make up for the 2025 Holocaust. All right, this one's from Cookie Don 15. Says, how could times be so bad when we have this adorable dog on screen? It says, I want a tortilla even though it's too early for me to have a tortilla.
Look at the pigtails.
How do you not give that thing the tortilla?
Yeah, that's
it wants?
that's a very cute puppy.
You give the puppy the tortilla.
Just give it the tortilla.
All right. All right. Maybe this girl was right. Let's move on. Things are about to get way worse.
Yeah. A disturbing trend has emerged in which OnlyFans stars are posting suggestive content with filters over their faces to make it appear that they have Down syndrome. And they are using this as clickbait to funnel people to go subscribe to their monetized OnlyFans pages. And it's incredibly suggestive content where they are literally just face swapped with someone who has Down syndrome. They are faking having it in order to grab people's attention and keep them around for long enough to sell their spicy content. Joey Swole recently posted a video about this phenomenon, bringing it to a lot more people's attention. Perhaps Streisand affecting it a little bit, but it's worth talking about because I like to keep up with the latest trifling schemes from these OnlyFans women.
Okay, here we go. So let's watch this clip that he posted. Muting that.
Yeah. This is voluptuous
Here is another
woman with
disgusting
Down syndrome
example
face.
of somebody using an AI filter to pretend to have Down syndrome in order to sell more subscriptions to their OF account. This video had over 70 million views and over 900,000 likes. First off, can't even believe that a filter like this even exists. But secondly, if you're somebody that supports this or you go and subscribe to them, you are sick in the head and you're part of the problem. I will say I am happy to see a lot of big creators are speaking out against this, and we've gotten a lot of these accounts taken down.
It's crazy that we live in a time period where it's like this is the brave hill to die on now. It's like I will take a stand against whores pretending to have Down syndrome.
Yeah, like just take a stand against the public whores.
Yeah, or against OnlyFans
Like
in general.
OnlyFans
that would help.
seems pretty bad.
Yeah,
you know.
that's what led to this.
And
Especially
that's the
the
problem.
ones that I've posted. So thank you to all of you. And after doing some homework, I found that these are the actual women that are doing this or their management teams in order to push traffic to their OF account, as well as there are people that are stealing others' content using the filter and trying to hustle and scam people. Regardless, if you're somebody that's doing this or somebody that supports this, shame on you. You need to do better. I will call out every single account that does this until this evil is off the internet.
I think I love Joey Swole because his videos are always perfectly framed in his car. He's not holding his phone. He's got like a tripod up on the dash, and he's just.
I like to believe it's just balanced on the steering wheel.
That's what I would like.
That's
to
what I
believe,
do
too.
when I've had
Yeah.
to, I've done that before.
But I looked into it further and I found one of the accounts that he used as an example. It is still up on Instagram. It has not been banned, but others have. I went and found those links as well. This is a woman who identifies herself as Nicole Rojas, and all of her videos, she is using this Down syndrome face filter. And I have no idea if all the videos are the same person, but they're highly provocative, using captions like, Down syndrome doesn't mean I can't give you what you want, ... A shy, lonely girl with Down syndrome no one was ready for. And will anyone ever look past my Down syndrome and just see me? So, you showed the examples,
yeah, I
correct?
did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's wearing all of these provocative outfits. And I believe this is a real photo of the girl behind the account, but, you know, the filter is not real. And she is linked to her OnlyFans in her Instagram bio. And you can see that in all those photos, she hides her real face.
Yeah.
So it's pretty clear what's going on here. She knows that this scheme is going to bring in more subscribers because there are people with a sick fetish for this type of stuff. And you know what?
Fetish for everything.
Yeah, of course. If there is,
It's literally, I don't even know if it's necessarily Down syndrome as much as it is, hey, you guys. It's
what?
literally it's
What do you mean?
From the Goonies.
Oh, I don't remember it.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've watched it. So there was a report on this trend in Newsweek where they interviewed a lot of the experts, and they don't have a great take on it either. But we'll get to that in a second. The president of the National Down Syndrome Society commented on this, saying, "We have been monitoring the surge of fake online social media accounts utilizing AI to impersonate individuals with Down syndrome, and we're disappointed to see that this is growing in popularity." And some of the accounts also include links to Telegram groups, and they found one that had more than 20,000 members. They're probably sharing content that is questionable legality.
Yep.
Yeah, and the language of these posts is often centered on exploiting a fetishization of Down syndrome with sexual undertones. So they asked a couple of these so-called experts about their thoughts on the issue, and I just found this tragically uninformed. Actually, no, they're perfectly informed on the issue. They really just are so stuck in their own academic bubble that they're not able to just say this is sick and wrong and should be banned forever. This was one of the comments. This type of content simultaneously fetishizes people with Down syndrome, while it also positions Down syndrome and sexual desirability as incompatible, says Dr. Amy Gaeta, a research associate at University of Cambridge. Down syndrome and sexual desirability are incompatible.
Well, unless you also have Down syndrome.
Okay, I genuinely feel like
Down
that's
syndrome person would potentially
not
be attracted to a person with Down syndrome. There's couples and things.
I don't think they should be encouraged to do that personally, because I think that they're too immature to be allowed to have those types of relationships with or without someone who also has Down syndrome. And then she continued saying, "There is nothing immoral or embarrassing about sex work, LOL. To use the image of another subject is using that subject as a shield and means for profit. This is the commodification of a disability." And another expert credited as a responsible leader in AI said the trend represents a troubling intersection of ableism, sexual exploitation, and the unethical use of generative AI technology. So it goes deeper than that, but they're not really willing to address the crux of the issue, which, as we already said, is the commodification of sex online.
Right.
In the
human
first
beings
place.
In the first place.
And this is the inevitable place where it leads.
Yeah, it does seem weird that you're splitting the baby over.
Yeah.
There's gradations of pornography that are acceptable, and then there's other forms of pornography that are not. No form of pornography is actually acceptable. Mm-hmm. Why aren't people capable of just saying that?
But because of the pattern where you have to do more and more outrageous things to keep people interested, to continue attracting new subscribers to an OF page, this is the extreme that we have reached, and it doesn't end there. I've seen there are adult creators on OnlyFans or similar platforms who cosplay as children, and not just with outfits or fake voices or what have you, but really using face filters to appear like they are 5 years old, and with a fake persona and everything, trying to attract PDF files to subscribe to their pages. So this is just an example of us being right on the precipice of that being normalized. There are also AI generated influencers who have Down syndrome. This one example is a virtual influencer who's been given the name Cami. I have no idea who created this virtual influencer. But she says, "I'm making the digital world more inclusive." The first virtual influencer with Down syndrome created by a partnership between Down Syndrome International and the virtual modeling agency The Digitals, creators of Shudu. 100 real women with Down syndrome volunteered their faces and mannerisms to provide the basis for this virtual influencer. And there is this concerted effort I've seen to kind of destigmatize Down syndrome, but in the process of doing so, they're not helping anyone who actually has Down syndrome. It's just a virtue signal. Earlier this year, I saw a PSA from a famous influencer who has Down syndrome, trying to prove the point that she can do anything that any other adult can do, and you shouldn't question it if she comes to a bar and orders a drink, or if she has a sex life, what have you. Let's show that PSA.
You assume, hey bartender, you assume that I cannot drink a margarita. So you don't serve me a margarita? So I don't drink a margarita. Your assumption becomes reality. And parents, you assume that I cannot live on my own. So you don't encourage me to live on my own. So I don't live on my own. Coach, you assume that I cannot hit harder. So you don't train me to hit harder. So I don't hit harder. And teacher, you assume that I cannot learn Shakespeare. So you don't teach me Shakespeare.
Old MacDonald had a farm.
So I don't learn Shakespeare. E-I-E-I-O. But hey, if all your assumptions become reality, then assume that I can drink a margarita. So you serve me a margarita. So I
Bro, this editor's on one.
drink a margarita. Assume that I can live on my own. So I live on my own. Assume that I can hit harder. So I hit harder. Assume that I can learn Shakespeare. So, what fools these mortals be? I learned fucking Shakespeare. You assume I can't swear, right? Assume that I can do that job. That I can go to parties. That I can have sex. That I can be on stage. Assume that I can.
Okay, I was like, you know, whatever, generic early 2000s progressivism until the sex part. That was just weird as fuck to include in that at all.
It's so weird. It's so weird. And what you just saw is an example of someone with Down syndrome who is very high functioning compared to the rest of the population, who have an average IQ of around 50. That's like not even quantifiable. On the upper end, when someone has an IQ above 140, there's very little difference between 140 and above. Once you get below like 80, this person is not functional to do all the things she just listed, to drink, to live alone, to have a sex life.
I mean, just
to have any sort of normal functioning adult life.
Just going back to the boxing one, like, am I supposed to assume that nobody's going to try to hit her back? And in that case, who is it?
It just collapses the second that you give it as like a little bit of thought.
Yeah.
And it's all the appearances of advocating for their interests as this marginalized group, when in reality it does nothing of the sort. And when you spread this, you know, type of propaganda, it leads to, as we just saw, people sexualizing a disability and thinking that that's socially acceptable and fine, when in reality, you know, they are not on the level of maturity that other adults are. So they should not be encouraged or normalized to have sex lives. Like, that is not okay. How is it controversial to say this?
But the thing is, these are human beings, right? There's definitely gradations of mental disability. So, I mean, we've seen a model with Down syndrome, you know, like that was a thing. There was, in the 90s, there was a TV show with an actor who had Down syndrome, and he was like very popular. And there's definitely different levels of disability, just like there are with physical disability. So each person has to, just like anybody, right? Each person has to set their own expectations and has to like express what it is that they're capable of doing. Like, it's not that much different in terms of, you know, you have a child and you think like, okay, my kid has speech therapy and he has whatever else, all these other kinds of what are they? There's like occupational therapy and different things. And so you set expectations for your kid, and a lot of people will set their kids' expectations low, but like set your kids' expectations as high as they can accomplish, or teach them to, you know, set high expectations and then have them encourage them to go higher than that. So if this is a woman with Down syndrome who is capable of living on her own, capable of having a relationship, capable of holding down a job, then by all means, that's not going to be everybody with Down syndrome. That may be her. It may, you know, it may not be her, but like based on this PSA, who knows, right? It's just an advertisement. But I think I think that everybody has their own life and has to choose how to live it, you know, in terms of what they're capable of. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's bad. Like, well, people that I've known with Down syndrome have jobs, they get apartments, they work it out. Mm-hmm. It's a different level. They're not going to law school. You know, they're not going to be in the administration, but like they're working it out. They're working out some semblance of a life.
Sure, but just like we don't listen to a 9-year-old's opinion of what they're capable of, and we decide for them.
But she's not talking about that. She's talking about somebody who's capable of living on their own. And,
okay,
and
but I'm talking about
life.
Someone who is intellectually impaired. They don't really get to decide what their limits and responsibilities and capabilities are. Just like a 9-year-old doesn't get to decide that they're old enough to drink.
You guys are just talking
the people
about
who know
opposite
them,
ends of that gradation that
right.
you're talking about.
The people who know them and are their caregivers are the ones who get to decide.
You're talking about the extreme end of the spectrum, and she's talking about the other end of the spectrum that's closer to somebody of average intelligence.
Well, the girl in that video for the PSA is the extreme end of the spectrum for Down syndrome.
In what way? Like
in that she is higher functioning than the vast majority, and yet it's being presented as propaganda to convince people who watch this ad, oh, I guess all Down syndrome people are just able to live normal lives.
In the same way that they've turned autism into just means you're quirky,
or it's a superpower,
or that
right?
it's a superpower, which, you know, that's
it's spreading the idea basically that, you know, you should treat them like you would treat anyone else, which is clearly a bad idea.
Well, you treat everybody in terms of, like, you meet people where they stand, right? Like, if this girl is capable of all this stuff, I mean, I wouldn't cast her as Lady Macbeth necessarily, but, you know, if she's capable, then you meet her where she stands, and someone else, you meet them where they stand. You can't just make the assumption that they don't know. I used to work with this not-for-profit. It was a temp job. And it was a very weird temp job. But the temp job was about, I was basically doing like admin support for a home for mentally retarded adults. And that was the term at the time, was like mentally retarded adults. And like there was one day when the SEPTA system, which was public transit in Philadelphia, was on strike. And so none of them could go to work. And they all had like different jobs. Like somebody worked at Wawa, someone worked, you know, doing like support for something else. Like everyone had like some little job. People worked in cafeterias. There was a lot of food service. So no one could go to work. And somehow everyone, like 10 mentally retarded adults, ended up in the office with me. And I was supposed to like give them jobs to do, which was weird because I was like 22, 23. And like I was my own version of a mess. You know what I mean? But like I was supposed to give them jobs to do. And the level of capability was drastically different for everybody. And there was one man who was like just mentally disabled, like just on the other side of it. And so he knew that he was not like everybody else. He knew that there were connections in his brain that he couldn't make, that he wasn't capable of making. And he could see it and he could feel it. And it drove him insane. Like he couldn't he was like, he could tell that he was like just too incapable intellectually, but he could see where that difference was. And he was far less comfortable with who he was than the people who were like, had like 50 IQ or something, you know, who were like, I'm licking envelopes and then we're ordering pizza. Yay. Like that was, and so he had a much more difficult time assimilating to life.
That must have been very difficult.
The other ones. Yeah, he had a crazy story. Like he had he had been living with his parents. Do you want to hear a wacky story?
Before that, I have a $20 super chat that we missed.
Color anyway. It was a very
The Last
weird
of My
story.
Kind said there's a YouTube channel where it's a chef with Down syndrome. It's awesome. Because all he does is smoke ribs and brisket. He's very good, and the food looks good. Unrelated, if Phil wants to get into voice acting, call Seamus.
There you go.
That's a good idea.
He should. He would be a great animated character voice.
So you were about to...
Oh, he had this
get into
crazy
this
story. Yeah. So he had been living with his parents for his whole life. And then they were out of town and they left him alone for like a weekend, or maybe it was even just an afternoon. And he went to the Backpage of, Backpage at the time, like it was, he hired a bunch of escorts to come over to the house and
Oh my gosh.
and engage with him. And so then they wanted money, right? They were like, now you have to pay us. And he was like, I don't have any money. And so they left.
Thank you. So they left.
They left. And then hours later, their pimps showed up and beat the hell out of him. And they beat him up and they stole a bunch of his parents' stuff. They stole like his mother's jewelry. They stole all this stuff. And so his parents were like, well, you can't live with us anymore. Like, this is not, we can't do this. So he ended up living in this like adult home for, mentally disabled people. Yeah, it was crazy. And
Wow.
yeah, and so there we were in the office, and everyone's licking envelopes, and he's like, I'm hearing this story, and I'm like, wow, okay there, fella.
Okay, I'm sorry if this makes me sound like an evil person, but I just don't think that someone with a story like that should
Crazy story.
Should
Crazy.
be, responsible for themselves as an individual without caretakers. That's just
Well, he wasn't. Yeah,
outrageous
he had
to me.
caretakers. Yeah, he definitely had caretakers.
Yeah, and it's not that 50 IQ is the bottom end of the average. It is the average for people with Down syndrome. And just going to be honest, and apparently these people do exist, if there is someone out there who is not disabled in any way, who looks at someone with Down syndrome and finds that sexually arousing in a fetishistic way, they are sick in the head. As Joey Swole pointed out, they are sick in the head, and they are being catered to by a group of OnlyFans models who are equally sick in the head, if not more. And they should be stopped, and this should be banned from Instagram. And I'm shocked that these pages are still up and unencumbered from the scheme that they're pulling with these people and stealing people's content as well to do this. It's gross.
All right, let's go to Super Chats.
Shane H. Wilder said, nearly forgot. Sorry for memeing your love of matcha yesterday, Mary. They're not bad. I just prefer black coffee.
I like matcha.
You a matcha fan?
Yeah.
It's my life force. I had one yesterday with the new cold foam from Starbucks, the brown sugar cold foam.
Oh, damn. That
It was
sounds really
so
good.
It was like a sugar cookie mixed with matcha. Weary Traveler said, Libby stands assemble. You got all the stands in the chat. Brian Bledsoe said, welcome back, Libby. I thought you didn't like us anymore. Just came back from a cruise to Alaska and wondering if there's a cruise to the Congo. Yeah, we're in the process of planning that. We'll let you know the details.
Let's hold off on the rest.
No, Libby still likes
What's
the
the
chat.
gongo?
You weren't here for the
here for
origin
the
of the Gongo meme.
No.
It's so the Gongo is a totally real country that
is going through their very own femigenocide.
has a humanitarian
Yes.
crisis and a femigenocide going on there. And it's a mix between the Congo and Gaza.
Oh, dang.
And
Okay.
I misspoke.
Because
That's severe.
it's based on Brett misspeaking when he was referring to Gaza and
Yes.
the Congo. And the point being, people comment on our channel saying, like, how can you be talking about Britney Spears when there's a femicide going on in the Congo?
There would definitely be no AI Down syndrome influencers in the Congo.
Yeah.
Well, no, they'd probably throw them off the roof.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
Last year, the very first biopic about Donald Trump released, called The Apprentice, starring Sebastian Stan, who now claims that he has been blacklisted in his industry for his involvement in the project. And it was not a kind portrayal of Trump. In fact, Trump's team made legal threats for defamation involved in the way that they wrote this movie. They showed a scene where he was assaulting one of his ex-wives in the movie, which was not even confirmed by, I believe it was Ivana, the wife who originally alleged that in a divorce proceeding and retracted it. And now there is a new biopic being made about Trump that allegedly is going to portray him in a much more respectful way. And we can glean from the people who are currently involved in the project, who are Trump supporters, they're at least aiming to play nice with him. And
I also want to point out that Sebastian Stan was not blacklisted. He can say whatever he wants.
Well, his evidence for that was saying, oh, I was slated to be on Variety Actors on Actors, but none of the other actors wanted to talk to me because I'm in this Trump movie.
They wouldn't let me bloviate with them.
Yeah, well, I think at the time, this was like late 2024, before the election took place. And these actors rightly assumed that, you know, it's not a good look to be talking shit about Trump right now because he's hot right now. He's not the object of universal hatred that he used to be in Hollywood. Yes, he's still hated, and there is a core group of celebrities that still have Trump derangement syndrome, but it's dwindling, and people may be ready to produce and also support and watch a movie about this man that isn't completely tar and feathering him as a monster, a sociopath.
Yeah. I see it, and I kind of like the idea of making both movies and letting Sebastian Stan play Trump in both of them.
Yeah.
And then eventually, I saw somebody in the chat mention that he deserves a multi-part docuseries. He probably has had a life that's more indicative of like a full-length series rather than just a movie.
Well, the question is, like, would Trump choose to be involved in a project like that? Probably not.
Well, it would be better if it were unauthorized. Like, that would be more exciting if it was unauthorized, because then you'd have like everyone getting really mad about it, and that would bolster views. And
like Madonna
ratings.
wants to make a movie about herself. I don't want to watch the Madonna movie like made by Madonna because she's going to leave out all the good stuff.
Yeah, her tour movie was boring.
Yeah, like if they're going to make a Trump movie that's positive towards him, I could at least assume that if it's going to be generally positive towards him and it's unauthorized, I'm going to take the negative stuff in that with a lot more honesty than I'm going to believe one that's just inherently negative from the off.
I would be definitely interested in seeing a Trump, like a Trump series, you know, kind of
like a fictional series.
Yeah, fictional series.
That's cool.
I'd want to see something though that's sort of like a cross between reality TV and The Apprentice, The Apprentice and The West Wing. Remember that show with Jed Bartlett and
Olivia would
Martin
love
Sheen?
that. That's Olivia's
and
favorite
I think
show
that
of
would
all
be
time.
I think that would be very cool and interesting, and you'd have like all this castle drama, but you'd also have like In The Office, you know, when they talk straight to the camera. You know, I think that would be
fun.
That would be fun, and it would be interesting, and you would have like all these different perspectives. You'd have like, what's his name, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, like suddenly talking to the camera. And he'd be like, well, Trump wanted to play his playlist, and we respect the man, so we decided. Because he was in Saudi Arabia today, and he's playing that Lee Greenwood, Proud to be an American, and it's like this room full of sheikhs and whatever with their whole like outfits, you know, with the things. And there he is doing that.
A mobile McDonald's in Saudi Arabia right now.
In Riyadh.
Trump.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I would I think that would be a great series, you know?
Yeah.
And you'd have people like popping up from all over, you know. I think it would be really good.
See, that's a great idea, and I would be dying to watch that, but they just don't have the guts or creativity anymore. Even
well, you'd need
with
like
the Apprentice biopic,
yeah.
it was just really a smear piece. It was a hit piece all along. And then with this one, it just is reheating the nachos of the last one with very little waiting period in between. And I'm just not interested anymore. they also have this insane budget for it. $100 million for a biopic is crazy work.
That's okay. So I looked into it more. There's lots of movies that have been made
Okay.
about people that are around that budget.
I say that because
Though, to
way
be
more
fair,
people are interested in watching a biopic about a celebrity like Michael Jackson than they are interested in watching one about Trump.
I will
also,
concede that Trump,
The
being
Apprentice,
divisive as he is, kind of makes that limited.
Well, because you'd need somebody who's able to humanize Trump in a real way.
No,
Like,
I'm saying
you'd
that the
need
100
the tender moments and
the $100 million budget is harder to justify when somebody is so polarizing that you've cut your audience in half from the beginning. Now, there have been movies made about other political figures that are in that same budget range, but who aren't as polarizing as Donald Trump. Therefore, you are probably right that the budget is too high to justify.
The Apprentice movie had a budget of $16 million compared to this, $100
Yeah, but
million. That's
okay, so
crazy.
The Apprentice was never meant for wide release and was only going to get a limited theater release. They're not making a $100 million movie and not expecting this to go to 4,000 theaters. This is going to be expected to be played at every major theater and make its money back.
Yeah.
But if you look at other movies, like other movies of the sort, like Ford vs. Ferrari cost $100 million to make. American Gangster cost $100 million to make. The Wolf of Wall Street cost $100 million
That's
to
a
make.
good movie.
And those are less divisive figures.
Yeah.
Jordan Belfort is not as divisive as Donald Trump. Public Enemies, $100 million. I'm like the only person who likes that movie, though.
is that like about
It's the Michael.
rap group
Yeah,
or
it was the
whatever?
Michael Mann movie. But it's about John Dillinger.
Oh, okay.
But the point being that when you have an audience that's been cut in half because so many people hate the guy, they're not going to, especially if the movie's being polite to him, you'd think that a movie that doesn't like him would be more liable to make more money. What they should have done is made a $100 million movie that hates him, but even that wouldn't work because the people that hate him don't have any money.
Well, they also probably aren't even interested in watching a hate movie about
Like
Trump.
it's
they-
easy to get people to read articles
Yes.
about stuff they hate. It's a whole nother thing to get people to spend.
They'll click on a
45
YouTube video that's
yeah.
hating on Trump. They're not going to go to the movie theater and think about how much they hate Trump for 2 hours.
But that would be boring too
Yeah.
if it was just like, because Trump is on TV all the time, right? Like we see him constantly. He's like, they've got a YouTube feed, they've got the Twitter feed, like you see him all the time. But what you don't see are those personal moments, and those are the ones that like really go viral. Like when you see him in the golf cart talking to
Right.
like one of his, I don't know, golf friends or whatever, and they're doing golfing, you know, like that goes well. Or like when you see him with his grandkids, you know,
I think they
'cause
should remake
people
Richie
like
Rich.
to see who he is without all of the pomp and circumstance.
They
So
should
Richie Rich about Baron Trump.
Yes.
Oh,
So
wow.
Trump being the dad.
We have a
and-
couple of 20s.
We have a 20 from
I think-
Crispy Leg on Rumble. It's a Rumble rant. Says, I am happy to see you guys here. Now you can get more of the super chat, and I'm not funding YouTube.
We
Well, it's a
also got
Rumble
one
rant.
from Crispy Leg on YouTube, though, saying, are you guys monitoring the Rumble
Yes, I
chat?
am.
Yes, just not as frequently as the YouTube chat. It's difficult to go between pages. But this is from the Italian producer Andrea Iervolino, who produced on Ferrari 2023 and To the Bone 2017. We understand the film will be kinder to POTUS than The Apprentice, and that was the one starring Jeremy Strong and Sebastian Stan. Trump's team famously took umbrage with that movie and tried to have it blocked from release around this time last year.
It's because they put it out before the
They're-
election, and they would have seen it as a form of election interference to put something
Right,
like
which
that
is
out.
kind of bullshit. But their company's description of the project says it's a major new biographical film centered on the life and legacy of Donald Trump, real estate mogul, television icon, the 45th and 47th president of the United States. And it's not clear if they've reached out to Trump's team to collaborate on it. But one of the collaborators includes Kia Morgan, the former manager of Stan Lee, and Morgan is a public Trump fan. His IMDb page currently lists Donald Trump Jr. as one of his clients. So perhaps that means that this is going to be a pro-Trump take on the biopic. And then they got a comment from Iervolino about the project saying whether one agrees or disagrees with his politics, there's no denying Donald Trump's impact on the modern era. As a producer, I'm interested in exploring the deeper story of the man, the rise, the challenges, the resilience. Our goal is to deliver a film that is bold, balanced, and artistically ambitious.
I mean, that would be cool to see, but it would be very hard to market something like that. The trailer would have to be something really special to be able to show you equal sides of it without it feeling like it's leaning towards one side or the other. The director and the guy who's doing all your storyboarding is like, okay, so we have to have one scene where it's positive and one scene where it's negative, and then we cut to another scene where it's positive. There can be exactly two of each.
The only way this could happen is if you have an equal amount of liberals and conservatives involved in the project, which is unlikely. And it reminds me of the Ronald Reagan biopic that was released, I believe, last year. And when I watched that and gave our little like mini review on the show, I said it was basically a glowing review, like a puff piece on Reagan that said nothing negative about the man. And if there was anything negative about him in his private life, his family, it just wasn't addressed. It wasn't shown because the people making the Reagan biopic love Ronald Reagan. And
there was a lot of stuff. Like, I remember being a kid when Reagan was president, and there was all this stuff about his son.
He had a terrible relationship
like a whole
with
problem.
Yeah, with his son. It wasn't addressed at all. Literally, there was no portrayal of his children in the movie at all, even though that's a huge part of anyone's life.
Right.
And it was completely brushed over by the people who made the biopic because they're, you know, Reagan stans. Like, they just will never address anything that possibly makes him look like a flawed human being, which I found cheap. And I find it cheap coming from Sebastian Stan's take on Donald Trump as well, that they completely portrayed him as you know, just a monster, a psychopathic monster and a rapist. Like, try to just engage with him as a person. That's what Sebastian Stan was paying lip service to when he was in the process of promoting the movie. But when you look at the actual material, it's not what they accomplished.
The best thing they could do would be to drop the budget. If they were looking to actually portray him in a way that would be positive and you wanted people to come out to it, it wouldn't help with the box office, but make a movie on his foreign policy. That's usually something that he tends to shine on, maybe not on economic policy and tariffs right now. But as far as foreign policy, you'd be able to make... They love making political thrillers about foreign policy.
I want a Kim Jong-il biopic.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be great.
That's what I want to see.
I would love to see that. And you could just...
It's hard to get information,
juxtapose, you know, but stuff has come out.
Yeah.
You know, there's like dissidents who've come out and talked about it. You could juxtapose his life in his palace with eating all whatever food he wants with this starvation and famine in North Korea.
Now that I would be seated for.
Richie Rich, I'm telling you, remake Richie Rich with
simultaneously, they still have a documentary about Melania Trump in the works over at Amazon, which is an authorized project. And I guess that's going to come out before this new biopic does.
All right, we'll have to wait and see. All right, let's do some super chats.
Shane H. Wilder said, "You guys missed my 20 at the top of the show. It's all good. Ish happens. Very sorry about that, Shane." Anti-You said, "I saw Brett at Costco bulk buying pierogies."
That's
exposed.
That's a lie. Look, first of all, we're actually. I think I saw Olivia in the chat. We are due for our like every 4 months we go to Costco for a couple of things, and
are pierogies among them?
No, God, no. There will be no pierogies bought on my watch and never brought into the house. If they are, she's sneaking them in.
You're missing out on so much
We
joy.
do have a Rumble rant from the local Wendigo. Says down. He says Downs. And I'm not
you
gonna
can't
read the
say
rest
that.
of
You
it.
can't
That's
say that on
very
YouTube.
rude. Thank you for the chat, but you're being very rude, and we do not appreciate it.
Okay. Brian Bledsoe said, also they can bring in the absent mom or dad for special episodes and bring a celebrity. Yay for broken families to get a ratings bump. Yeah, they did that with the Hannah Montana series where she has a dead mom, but they had flashback scenes of, I forget which actress it was, but they wanted a little cameo moment. We have a 20 from Tacti Platty. Breaking news. My wife and I celebrate the birth of our first child, our son, today. Her water broke 1 month early on Mother's Day and 48 hours of slow labor.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
That's wonderful.
That sounds agonizing, though. I hope that she recovers quickly, and I hope that they're both in good health. But yeah, congrats, Tacti.
That is amazing. Congratulations,
Good news. And keeping up the tradition of super chatting while your wife is literally in the middle of giving birth.
That's impressive.
So this has become a kind of trend in the Timcast sphere. Then Shane H. Wilder said, I wonder if she's a member of the Columbia U secret society of rich kids called St. A's that reportedly has an Asian slave in the basement?
What?
So it's
What?
like
is
Skull
crazy.
and Bones, but
They have a slave? I'm very confused.
This
I'll have to look into that
This
later.
feels like something that Shane Cashman would talk about on Inverted World.
Sounds like something he should find
He
out
should-
about.
he
Yeah,
should
look
go-
into that.
You should go look
Yeah.
into that.
Go do a little investigative reporting. Urashima Otaru said, "Oh, moves. I thought Mary said moobs."
Moobs.
When? I mean, I'm known to use the term moobs, but only when appropriate. Pop Culture Junkie said September 5th is a great movie. Takes place in a TV control room set up to cover the Olympics. They are forced to become news people when Israeli athletes are held hostage. Accurate to the period.
Yeah. All right.
People were
let's-
just really mad at Peter Sarsgaard for, being involved in that movie, which had me believing his daughter was trying to get back at him in some public way, causing a ruckus.
All right. Let's move on. Woke fishing. I
Yes.
called it lib fishing, but woke fishing is the official name.
This is not a new trend. Men are known to lie about their political affiliations on dating apps in order to get more matches with liberal women. So it's either conservative men lying and saying that they're moderate, or moderate men lying and saying that they're extremely left-wing. And that is all in hopes of getting laid with lib chicks. It usually does work out for them, because I think that these liberal women take it at face value when a man says he is a feminist, he supports BLM, he is clued into climate change issues, and all the rest of it, go down the list. But they're starting to wise up to these men's ways. I think it's well overdue.
They're like, oh, you like climate change? Name 5 climate scientists.
Yeah. One of these women who has wisened up to men lying about their political views online is Maren Morris. She is a failing country star who is trying to rebrand herself post-divorce. She just did an interview with The Cut for her 4th upcoming album, Dreamsicle, which is her newest music since going through a public divorce.
Tell me I'm wrong about the resting bitch face, though. She
No,
looks like she
seriously.
just smells
I would never
something
tell
bad
you were
all the
wrong
time.
about something like that,
Okay.
because she
She
does.
does.
She
have
looks
a
so
very
mad
bad
all
bitch
the
face.
time.
Yeah.
She looks annoyed,
Yep.
aggrieved.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
she is aggrieved, that's for sure, and that was not something she shied away from talking about in this interview. She started it off saying, "I feel like we're going to heal a lot of trauma," referring to her new album. And it's about her coming out as bisexual, getting a tattoo of a martini glass to express her love of martinis.
That's very classy.
Not documenting what actually happened in her failed relationship, but instead the grief, anger, and sadness that followed, and the vulnerability of putting yourself back out there again. And that's exactly what she did when she downloaded the celebrity dating app Raya and encountered some of these men lying about their political beliefs.
I
So
just-
were they celebrities too?
Raya, they have to be.
some
yeah.
degree or another,
Yeah.
but some people who use Raya say that it's dubious. Like, you can kind of get on there if you have a certain number of followers, if you're like a DJ, like, it's not all
here's the thing
celebrities.
also. Before we go on, look, if you're like me and you're just not that interesting, don't like search for something to get a tattoo of. Like if you search around your life and all you can find is that you like martinis, don't get a martini glass
Yeah.
tattooed on you. Just accept the fact that your life isn't that interesting and go on unblemished. You'll be fine. Like, you don't need that tattoo.
It's sad. She's 34 and already going through a midlife crisis.
It's very sad.
Like, you're not even midlife yet.
What would you say? What is midlife?
I mean, you've got to be at least in your 40s
You
before you
think?
can have a midlife crisis.
so.
You can't be in your 30s having a midlife crisis, you know? Because that's just too conservative of an estimate.
What's the average lifespan now? It's like 78 or something,
Isn't it
right?
something like that? Yeah.
It's like 78. So your midlife crisis is like in your late 30s.
Yeah.
Well, she's not even in her late 30s yet.
She's just in her early 30s.
She's in
middle?
her early 30s and she's already going through it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, part of Maren Morris's healing journey that she's going through involved re-entering the dating pool and joining Raya, where she is swiping through men and women whenever she's not bogged down with work or co-parenting her 5-year-old. Even broaching the topic makes her shudder. She says that she now bemoans the mutant strain of fake liberal men who pose as progressive dudes on dating apps. And this journalist says, earlier this year, I fell victim to one, and Maren Morris thanks TikTok for alerting her to their existence. She is also learning therapy concepts like limerence, maladaptive daydreaming, and avoidant attachment styles from Gen Z.
Therapy speak has done more damage to Western women than almost anything. It has given a certain level of validity and like linear thought to their neuroses, which just reinforces them for them, rather than being something that they kind of let sit in the back of their brain and hopefully don't let fester or learn to get through. Now they have people affirming them and giving names to them and just making it way worse for everybody.
She credits Gen Z TikTokers with helping her detect red flags early and often. And she said she recently had a short-term relationship that completely imploded. She says, I'm kind of realizing with men especially that they know how to cosplay intimacy so well.
What does that even mean?
Well, I suppose if you are pretending to have a completely different worldview and set of fundamental values in order to get in someone's pants, you are cosplaying intimacy.
Is that intimacy? Is that, I mean, I guess I don't think of like your values as intimacy,
You're
but
completely
I guess
pretending to be a different person in order to have sex with them.
Cosplaying connection, I suppose.
Yeah, same difference. And this is a well-known phenomenon amongst liberal women who are on the dating apps and are perpetually single. One of many things that they complain about in the dating sphere is wokefishing, where these men present themselves to be woke, or at least woker than they actually are. This was a term coined by Vice journalist Serena Smith, referring to men who supposedly hold liberal views. They claim to attend Black Lives Matter protests and are aware of the climate crisis. They're pro-LGBTQ+, male feminists. But really, so says Dazed, they're cunts. Their actual opinions tend to emerge weeks, months, or even years into the relationship, which, unsurprisingly, leads to a breakup.
Well, that's because early on they just decided that the attraction to having sex with them outweighed their desire to speak on what they actually believe. So they're like, yeah, I can support that for now while the sex is still new.
That seems
just
pretty
pathetic.
weak. If you're a conservative guy and you're trying to have sex with a bunch of liberal women specifically because you think they're probably easy.
It's also a
Right.
horrible idea if you're trying to actually, like, it's one thing if you're doing it and you're having one night stands, but doing it in a long-term relationship just shows that you have absolutely no ability to think more than like 2 steps ahead.
Right, but
Like,
it's
it's
also
gonna
like
fall apart.
you're not living out your values at all. You're not even trying to. You're just saying like, I'll just
Yeah.
use these women because they don't matter because I don't agree with them.
I mean,
Well,
also,
pretty
everything
bad.
that they're talking about doesn't necessarily equate to conservatism. He could just be some dude who's a
A
centrist
a
who
guy
doesn't
who
care.
claims
Right.
to be conservative but is arranging countless hookups from dating apps isn't actually conservative anyway, so there's no love lost
And
from
most
the conservative
of-
women.
Right. Yeah,
Much of
perhaps.
conservatism these days is everyone arguing about who's conservative and who isn't, because in modern times, Trump's big tent has put a bunch of people in the same camp that don't necessarily agree on everything, and very few of them would be what you'd call an actual conservative. I mean, a lot of them are just kind of
all
leave me
those
alone.
labels aside, they are lying and knowingly lying. They just think that it's not lying because it's lying by omission most of the time. It's usually not literally a guy like posing in a pink pussy hat saying that he's pro-choice and a feminist and pro-gay and all these other things, trying to get liberal women. Usually what's the case is it's a conservative guy with actual conservative values pretending that he's a moderate or a libertarian, which is even more deceptive. And then, you know, there's a liberal woman who's maybe willing to go out on a limb and date someone who's slightly different than her only because he's not presenting himself as he truly is, and he's wasting both of their time. It's not just a stupid and unproductive way to traverse through the dating sphere, but it's also just truly a way that you're mistreating other people and disrespecting their time, their precious time that they're trying to find someone to settle down with. And I do think that liberals, like, should find love, and usually it's going to make them a less insufferable person as a result.
I would be willing to
I
bet
think
that
that's
most
true.
of the guys that are being referenced by these women wouldn't even call themselves conservative. They're just kind of ill-defined in what they believe. They just
Right.
know they don't agree with her.
And that's why it's bait. That's why they're putting
Yeah.
themselves out as bait.
And again,
instead
that's more my point, where like it would seem more nefarious to me if he was like a truly conservative guy with really, really hammered home viewpoints, and he's just, I guess, letting it slide when she talks about all these things he disagrees with. But in these situations, most of the time, the guy probably is like, I don't know about that. And then that's as far as his thought process goes. And then he doesn't argue with her. I don't think that's lying.
But then you're
I think
setting
it's just
yourself
really
up
poor
for failure
planning.
long term.
That's what I'm
because
saying.
if you raise a family with this person, it is going to come up. Like, your political differences will rear their head later on, even if you can avoid the difficult conversation in the short term. This will be the person raising both of your children, and their values are going to be instilled in your family. So I
this
agree
one.
with the people who are willing to show that that's a deal breaker for them.
Yeah, she says, or are the guys pretending to be conservative to get out of the relationship? That is an epic way of like getting out. Like, you can't find a way out. She always pulls you back in. He's like,
Well,
oh,
speaking
never
of which-
mind. Actually, I think we should deport everyone.
There was a survey that showed 67% of respondents had previously ended a relationship because of their former partner's political views, and 84% of them said that they wouldn't even consider dating someone with opposite political views. And I agree with those people. Like, that's a good thing that's a deal breaker for you, just right out the gate.
Really?
Yeah.
That you wouldn't date anyone
wouldn't
who
date
has
a liberal.
different political views.
Like, it's only fair, right? I wouldn't date someone who's a liberal or like more liberal than me. So I can't really hold it against a liberal for feeling that way about dating a conservative. I think they should be conservative, but I don't think that the person you're dating is going to be the one to change your mind.
You don't think so? I think that's
There's
how
a
it
lot
works.
of conservative-
I think that's kind of how it goes. It's like a woman will be very liberal, and then she'll get with some guy who's more conservative, and she gets more conservative through that relationship.
I think that is a cosplay fantasy by conservative men on Twitter who think that they're going to change a bunch of minds.
It could be both.
Who overemphasize,
That happen.
who over guess just how effective their views are.
We have a 20 from Shane H. Wilder. If you're a conservative guy, 1, you shouldn't be hooking up. 2, your deceit will come out sooner or later. 3, what's wrong with you? Conservative women are more attractive. Find someone who agrees with your values.
There's just less of them in general.
There are less
so-
conservative women to choose from,
Yeah.
that is true. But they're not really looking for something long term, it seems. They're looking for short term fun.
I think that there is this overestimation from the men that their strong conservative maleness will convert any woman that they talk to into believing what they believe through sheer will, masculinity, and logic.
Okay, it's not getting into intellectual debates with your girlfriend that is going to turn her conservative, if that's what you're hoping to do.
Yeah.
What is going to turn a woman conservative from a previously more like liberal leaning worldview, if she's not a total like deranged ideologue, is the dynamic of your relationship. If the man in the relationship is the leader who tends to make decisions, take the lead, is an emotional pillar for her, and presents stability and security for her, she's going to naturally fall into a more feminine role than she otherwise would have expected. And I think that over time will shape her worldview in a more conservative direction. But just getting into
Like,
weird
actions
debates,
speak louder than words.
definitely,
Yeah,
like
I think
leading
that's
by
true.
example. But getting into debates with
Not
your
being
girlfriend
like, well,
about
actually,
Trump tariffs
Thomas
is
Sowell
not...
said this. Like,
Yeah.
she doesn't care.
That going
she
by the
doesn't
books
care.
and like actually going through syllogistic arguments with your girlfriend is not going to change her mind about anything. And ideally, you would just pair up with someone who's already on the same page with you. Sometimes that's not possible, and sometimes, you know, you hit it off with someone that you're not completely aligned with, and that those nuances happen all the time. I can't discount that. It's just ideally you would find someone that you're aligned with. And I personally would never want to be in a relationship with a liberal guy aiming to like convince him to be conservative. There's literally no way.
I don't think it works as well.
It doesn't
in
work
that
the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Also,
I
like,
don't
look
think it
how, like, much to my point about how boring is your life, where you have to get a lame ass tattoo about a martini glass because you don't know anything interesting about yourself. How boring is your fucking life when your life boils down to Black Lives Matter protests, climate change, anti-Brexit stuff? Like, go do something outside. Literally anything. Go for a walk.
Get a
But they are
hobby.
going outside to protest.
You going
Right, that's their exercise.
They're getting vitamin D.
They're getting in their steps.
when they're storming the
Marching
library
around
at
in
Columbia.
As an extremely boring person, my God, find a hobby.
Yeah.
Find a hobby. I'm not I'm not going to any protests. I went to the March for Life to document it once, and I was like, I could never do this for anything. I don't care.
Protests are boring.
Like,
Yeah.
and I was kind of impressed by just how motivated everyone was by that. But that's still, to me, is like, that's like the one issue where I see like a real strong reason why you would go. But in general, most of it's like, am I going to go? It's like people going to protest at Columbia University for stuff going on thousands of miles away. Be more interesting than caring about something that is happening 4,000 miles
And
away.
maybe study for your finals.
And maybe
Yeah.
graduate. Yeah, graduating makes you kind
Yeah,
of
that's
interesting.
that's not
Graduate,
bad.
you're like, okay, so if you're going out and you're meeting somebody, you're like, what's more interesting? Oh, I graduated from Columbia with a degree in this, or I got arrested at a protest once. I feel like the movies make the girl who got arrested more interesting. In the real world, the person who actually finished college with a decent grade point average probably has a better life.
But you know who's really interesting? The person who dropped out.
Yeah, well, Jake
For
Gyllenhaal.
sure. There you
Like
go.
Jake Gyllenhaal. Or myself, a proud college dropout. You're right. And you know what? I think that a lot of women are making swiping on dating apps into a hobby in and of itself.
That seems like a really bad hobby. It's
Yeah.
like it seems even worse than just
Or doom
endlessly
swiping.
scrolling Instagram. Yeah.
Doom swiping people left and right.
Yeah.
Literally. And it's incredibly uninteresting. But I do sympathize with them being suspicious of these men because, you know, if a guy identifies as a feminist, you just know he's a creep.
The
He's
Oh,
not
he's
who
a
he
total
presents
jerk.
himself to be.
He's an ass if he's
Yeah.
that guy. Male feminists are some of the worst guys.
Or worse, like, just people in general.
Just terrible.
And now we're in a period where you get the opposite reaction to that is all of the people on the right talking about repeal the 19th, which is a reaction.
It's funny because I literally want the 19th to be repealed one day. I know it's never going to happen, but I don't even talk about it anymore because it turned into this like cringe talking point.
It's pretty cringe all around.
Trying to make it all edgy.
It's
like,
edgy.
I
It's
don't-
supposed to be edgy.
It's not about being edgy for me. Like, this is just my life. So I don't even talk about that anymore. But yeah, these men have to stop. Like, stop wasting your own time. Stop wasting these women's time. You know?
There you go. Ask her to
Be
make a sandwich.
truthful.
If she balks, just walk away.
Right. There are plenty of litmus tests that you can use.
Okay. Let's move to Super Chats. That was fantastic advice from everyone involved. If you get in trouble now and you end up dating that type of woman and then it ends up falling apart 3 years later, you wasted your time, you wasted her time. Don't say we didn't warn you.
And tell us your stories if you ended up being one of these guys, because I want to hear that. Arsenal Man said, have you ever met someone who swore a lot that was actually intelligent? Yes.
Yeah, me too.
But we've also all met unintelligent people who swear a lot too, so it doesn't really say anything about swearing. Adam said, just because you get good grades doesn't make you a good person. There was a college student in Florida who was valedictorian and murdered his mom, a teacher.
Oh yeah.
Let's go just the complete opposite end of the spectrum then. That's like, so that doesn't mean that everybody who's valedictorian is going to be a
making
homicidal maniac.
A lot of incoherent syllogisms are flying
Yes, yeah.
right now. Yurishima Otaru said they saw that Victoria's Secret Downs girl go viral. Yes, one of the Victoria's Secret models had Down syndrome. But I found that weird, you know, because Victoria's Secret, at least what they've aimed to do for most of their history as a brand, is sell sexy. And I don't think that you should use a Down syndrome model to do that. It's weird. And it attracts, sadly, a lot of sick people.
Creepos. Definitely creepy to do that. Yeah.
Shane H. Wilder said these OF hooers know their market, sick, perverted fetishists. When presenting themselves like little uwu girls dries up, they switch to Down syndrome. Yeah, and who knows what comes next in the pipeline. I mean, it's just never ending. Weary Traveler said, stop with the Downs talk and give us pop culture. Well,
we talked about Donald Trump's biopic after that.
I know we've talked about this before, but social media and influencers and that entire world, it is pop culture.
Yeah,
and it
is.
has been
Yeah.
for at least a decade now. Like,
Yeah, and the
very
rest of
firmly.
pop culture is pretty much just boring and dead and
Well, yeah, like then
heartless
the
and
rest of it will
has
end
no
up being
soul.
like, are you going to talk about the 10,000th reboot or the 10,000th argument against this or that? And when you do a show 5 days a week, you find a bunch of stuff to talk about. And then this is why I always campaign for the idea that the show wouldn't even be called Pop Culture Crisis anymore, just be called PCC, because there's always somebody who has to make an argument about whether what you're talking about is or is not pop culture. Frankly, I don't care. I'm not interested in the discussion.
Potato chips
Yeah,
cup. That's what it'll be in the future.
I like that.
But you know what would be amazing is if you had your own line of chips,
Ooh.
right? That
Now
would be
that's
very
an
cool.
idea.
See, that's one I can get behind. You guys are talking about coffee. I'm like, I'll have a chip. I'll have
Chips, like a bag of chips, PCC chips, that would be amazing.
All
We'll call
of-
them crisps.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely do
That's
that.
too British.
And
no.
like no, I like it. And like some different flavors.
Yeah.
What
Well,
would
Brett,
your-
Brett is a chip connoisseur.
Yes.
What is your favorite chip?
All dressed.
What's
For
all
me-
dressed?
Ruffles, all dressed chips.
Is that like what's in it?
I don't even know. It's just very good.
You don't even know what the
I
spices
don't even know
are?
what the spices are. but it's
I
just
like
very good.
pickle flavor.
Really?
See, I'm
And
gonna get
also salt and vinegar.
hamburger
My
and
favorite
green olive
is
flavored
so
chips.
boring. I like sour cream and onion. That's my favorite chips.
Well, if you said
That or
just
plain.
like original plain Lay's,
I like
that's the boring
plain
answer.
with sour cream and onion dip. I like the sour cream and onion flavor of things.
I don't
for a chip.
Something about sour cream is like I don't like it. It gives me weird vibes. Never really enjoyed it. Adam said the series can be called the Hotel Office style. Yeah, just a comedy series that's like docu-comedy about like Trump Tower. And it doesn't even really have to be about Trump. It could just be about like mainly the people who work there, and Trump comes in and out once in a while.
I'm watching the show Endgame, which is, I mentioned yesterday, it's about the agoraphobic chess grandmaster who solves mysteries from his hotel. And he lives in like a hotel suite. And the best part of the show is all of the like hotel employees that he interacts with on a daily basis. Hugo, the fat, ornery security guard, the lady who runs the bar, and the lady who's like the maid, and they're all side characters, and it's actually really, really fun. You should go watch it. It's on Tubi.
What is it called?
Endgame. Sadly, it got like it's hard to find now because whenever you look up Endgame, the only thing that comes up is the Marvel movie. But
Which is dumb because it used to be a Beckett play. I mean, it still is a Beckett play.
so I recommend that show. It was very good. Only went for one season.
No Control said Olivia is making them at night.
She's not making pierogies at night. I would come out
She
there
should.
and I would be like, throw those away right now.
Come on, if Olivia made you pierogies, you would
I would eat them.
you would eat them.
I would eat them.
You're not that bad of a person.
I would eat them.
Gordon Shumway said, Mary, you need to read the biography of Kim Jong-il written by Michael Malice. It's hilarious. Wait, is that like satire, or did he actually like research Kim Jong-il's life and write a humorous biography? Because I feel like it sounds like he's just fictionalizing it. I want to know the real story. Shane H. Wilder said, since Libby is here, opinions on the Pope shirts that are being sold that say "Da Pope," like Da Bears, or merch in general, socks, ties, sandwiches. There are Pope sandwiches.
Pope
Yeah.
sandwiches?
Yeah, there was the.
What's in a Pope sandwich?
It's a Pope sub. It was hold on,
What?
I'll pull it up.
Is
We
it-
talked
is
about
it-
this on
Is
IRL.
it literally the Pope's favorite sub?
I don't know what the
Is it a
logic
hoagie?
behind it was.
I don't know.
I told Mary that they need to make Pope shirts like those Dale Earnhardt Jr. shirts with like the Pope mobile on it and the picture of the
Yeah.
Pope. Those would have
Yeah.
been.
Well, Libby, they want to know
My take?
your take on,
On
Pope
Pope
merch. Yeah.
I'm into it. You know what? I'm into it because it's been a long time since we had a Pope that everybody could get behind. The last Pope everybody really liked was John Paul II.
It's the only one I ever knew. It's like
Yeah.
it's like when you have no knowledge about something.
And this
everyone's like,
guy, he's going to be there for a long time. He's only 69 years old. He's the first ever American Pope. I never thought we would ever see an American Pope.
Yeah.
Ever. Not my lifetime, not my son's lifetime. I'm so shocked still that we have an American Pope. I'm super into it. I want to see all the merch. I want to see all the old videos of him at Cubs games, just like being a fan. You know, like we now have the most important people, like the most important leaders in the world are American, Trump and the Pope. And that is just so insane. I think it's a great opportunity for American culture, the good parts, to get on the, global stage again without just being like, we suck because of slavery. I like the good parts. Like, we have a lot of good sandwiches here in America, like best sandwiches in the world, I'm pretty sure. Unless burritos count as sandwiches, which I don't really think they do.
No,
the banh mi is okay, but like, it's no hoagie. You know what I mean? It's no like grinder. It's no like, it's not as good of a sandwich. The Cuban sandwich is okay, but again, it's this bread. It's hard to eat. Like, I want to see the Pope sandwich. I want Pope shirts. I want Pope socks, Pope ties. Like, if you're going to have an American Pope, and he's the leader of the Catholic Church, and he's the leader of, like, he's God's representative on earth. If you're Catholic and you believe that the Holy Spirit came into the Sistine Chapel and really laid down among these cardinals, and that's who they picked, then let's see it. Get out there. Let's do the thing. I want it. I want all of it.
It's called the Leo.
I love how pro-verse you are. Thank you. Wait, what is it called?
It's called the Leo from Portillo's in Chicago.
And they just made it?
What's in it?
Wait, he should get a cut of the revenue, though.
Yes, he should. It should go to all the orphans in, what's that place? Gongo?
In the Gongo, yes.
It's an Italian beef sandwich.
What's it? Come on now.
Is it just a normal Italian sub?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And
With the peppers,
Yep, the peppers and all that.
I love it.
What's the stuff Tim likes?
Man. Well,
Pimento,
that makes me want to try
the red
Portillo's.
stuff. That red stuff.
Yeah.
Are they only in Chicago?
The only place I've ever seen it was in Chicago.
I think now we need literally a pilgrimage to the Pope sandwich.
Yeah, like, I'll sit out on that one because I don't really want to go to Chicago for any reason.
The Art Institute is nice. They have one of the most beautiful paintings in the world, the Song of the Lark. It's gorgeous.
I'll probably never see it because I don't feel safe going to Chicago for tourism, you know?
Well, in that little area, there's like, I was only in Chicago once, and I got stuck because I got stuck in Milwaukee after the RNC because all the planes like didn't work.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I ended up going to Chicago. I got a ride to Chicago, and I was like, I'll just stay over here one night and then fly out of Chicago, and I'll go to the Art Institute, which I'd always wanted to visit. And it was delightful. I had a lovely time for myself.
Did you see the bean?
No, I literally stayed.
You were only there.
I had hardly any time.
Okay.
So I got to the hotel. I had dinner at the hotel,
Yeah.
which I never really mind if it's like a really nice hotel. It's kind of nice. And then the next day I went to the art museum, and then I caught a flight home. Yeah.
Weary Traveler said they're easier. What is easier?
I don't know what Weary Traveler is referring to.
Okay. Jane H. Wilder said, or maybe liberal woman. Jane H. Wilder said.
That was my point, yeah.
If you are a conservative. Oh, wait, no, I already read that one. Nick C. said Donald Trump with Down syndrome equals Downsold Trump. Clever.
Yeah.
The only
You
thing
really
is I don't think people are usually
ate with
named
that
after
one.
their disability.
There's a 20.
No. Empire State of Mind said, I didn't lie about being liberal, but my ex had many different opinions and values than me. She ended up leaving with me in February after being convinced by her therapist and friends that she should be partying.
Oh, that's your point. The psychology has done a really bad number on American women.
Yep.
Yeah, really. That's
Why would
terrible.
your therapist tell you that you should be partying?
I mean,
She's a bitch.
Look, there's
And she wants you to have a bad life.
There is 40, 50 years of like you've got time. Don't worry about
That's
it.
just a lie. Like, never put off love if it presents itself to you. Like, never put that off.
Why would you
You'll
settle
always have a
down
better
now?
time.
You'll have time for
The
that
other thing too is
later.
like you can, like, if you're with a person that you love, like, go have fun with your person. Like, you want to get some drinks or whatever, go dancing, like, go with your person. It'll be better.
There's a $5 Rumble rant from Bueno Malia. Malio says, the opposite happened to me. Girlfriend tells me that she's cool with disagreements, then later takes those disagreements very personally.
Yikes.
Big yikes.
Yeah, I wouldn't take that at face value if I were you, but lessons learned. No Control said pistol caliber
Carbine.
What about
PCC.
it? Oh, the acronym.
Yeah.
I still like potato chip
Yeah.
crisis.
I like that too.
Yeah. Hiroshima Otaru said, I thought you said moobs for Elon's trans. No. But that would fit the topic. No Control said, what about a Pope crunch wrap shaped like a hat?
That's awesome.
I like it.
Let's go. If
And
there's
it should
anything
say, like,
Americans are going to do
Leo
is
on
we're
it.
going to monetize this.
And we should.
Yeah.
Like, let everyone know, like, this is what an American Pope looks like, y'all. Like, this is it. Enjoy it.
Vatican capitalism.
Get
Let's
your
go.
cheap-ass T-shirts, you know?
Oh, yeah.
I don't think they
Definitely.
should do Pope flip-flops because you can't wear flip-flops to the Vatican.
You can't?
No. You
There's
have to
an
have your-
official dress code?
Oh, yeah. You have to have your shoulders covered. You can't wear
Let me look this
minis.
up.
You can't wear gross clothes. You know, you can't look like an American tourist, basically.
Right.
They
You
should
have to dress
sell
properly.
replicas of the Pope Mobile.
Well, there are monks who are only allowed to wear sandals, so I assume that they get a pass.
But I think it's different if you're a monk and
Yeah.
than if you're like some trashy
Just some
American girl,
random
like
American
drinking your soda
tourist.
with no ice.
So
Yeah.
they have a modesty dress code for both men and women. Shoulders and knees must be covered at all times. Sleeveless tops, shorts above the knee, mini skirts, and low-cut shirts are not allowed. Long trousers or skirts that cover the knees recommended. Men should wear shirts with sleeves, and tank tops or sleeveless shirts are not accepted. No
Is there like a
Did
bouncer?
they say no flip-flops? Was I right or was I wrong?
flip-flops are discouraged.
Discouraged. Okay.
Flat shoes and sandals are allowed.
So is there like a Vatican bouncer who sits at the door to judge your dress code?
Well, I was I was only there one time, which I would really like to go back. I was there in 2013. I went to Rome with my mom,
Oh.
and my mom is not religious, so I ended up going to the Sistine Chapel and stuff by myself. And
Who wouldn't want to see that?
honey, I've already been, you know.
Wow.
So yeah, she's very laissez-faire about stuff like that, if that's the right term. I don't know if it is, but anyway, so I went and I was in line and I was wearing like, you know, a short sleeve shirt, but it was like I was dressed properly. I had like a button down short sleeve shirt. I had a skirt that went below my knees and I wore proper shoes. And I saw a woman get pulled out of line and told that she wasn't going to get in. She was wearing a tank top. You could see her bra straps, and she was wearing, jorts.
I bet that happens quite frequently.
I wonder. I mean, that would probably. So you can wear jorts to the Vatican?
No, she was told
Well, I
she could
suppose-
not
Okay,
wear
so
it.
John Cena couldn't wear
You
jorts
could wear
to the Vatican.
Jenko jorts
They have
Okay.
to be longer
that are
than your
covering
knees.
the knee.
Okay, so John Cena could probably wear them because nobody can see him anyways. So
Yeah.
he'd probably be allowed to go.
Adam Sandler would be allowed in.
Yes,
'cause
he
his
would.
shorts always cover the knee. And the
I
last thing is you're not allowed to bring in, you're not allowed to go in if you have tattoos showing that are offensive to Catholic morality
Oh,
or
that's
Catholic,
interesting.
the Catholic religion in general.
So if you have like keep calm and go to mass, you're okay.
That would be acceptable. Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know if it would be acceptable if it was like on your face.
Right,
you know?
right.
That might be a bit
Yeah.
much.
Okay.
Shane H. Wilder said it's all pop culture as social media has shaped popular culture, which is why we are in a crisis. Also, there are Pope Mobile socks from Sock Religious. Yeah, that's the brand, Sock Religious.
Nice.
I like it.
But
Yeah.
but yeah, social media and pop culture, mainstream pop culture are so inseparable at this point. You cannot cover one without the other.
On April Fools, we should do a show where we just talk about like immigration law and like we like find something that absolutely does not track.
What did we
and
do on April Fool's?
I
this
don't
year?
know. I don't know.
Anything?
It would be funny to do that. To do that though, find like just the least pop culture, like, even worse, and do that.
Will we just like change the name of the channel for a day to like politics
Culture crisis.
culture crisis?
Could always do that.
Everyone unsubscribes. Omega Red fan said it's a tie for me between the Italian sub and the Reuben with rye bread. Both are phenomenal subs.
I do love a Reuben.
I don't remember what that is. What is it?
How do you use like
It's
corned
like
beef?
corned beef.
Yeah, it's good.
There's Russian dressing, right? And coleslaw.
Yep.
That is a
Nice.
good sandwich. This is what I'm saying. We have amazing sandwiches in this country.
The Leo is called.
I would leave the coleslaw out of just no, not for me, but the Reuben in general.
Empire State of Mind said her therapist said she shouldn't have to sacrifice anything in a relationship and shouldn't be living
Oh,
selfishly.
that is trash.
Okay,
2
so I don't
years
know. I don't know
wasted.
if I believe that. I think she's like
That's
pawning this
trash.
off on the therapist now. I don't know if the therapist was like, you know what you should do? You should live selfishly. I don't know if I believe
It might have
that.
been phrased in a more,
Yeah.
I don't know, subtle way.
Or like pro type of way, like body positive.
Yeah,
whatever that
know,
sort of framework is.
need to discover your true identity, something like that.
How old is she? Can we ask how old?
That's
how old
the
was this one?
majority
Tell us.
of
Tell
what
us everything.
of what Hollywood programming is fed to women and men, really. In
They
the
mostly
last,
feed it to women, though.
because it's always about the dichotomy where when men do it, it's celebrated, but when women do it, it's frowned upon, and then they pretend like there's anybody frowning upon it that's actually relevant these days. Like, sorry, but the people who are frowning upon it are over here, and nobody's in the liberal circles are watching stuff like this anyways. It's not like anybody in their circle is telling them they should settle down. That's not a thing.
Yeah. But then again, the phrasing of it, calling it settling down to like marry someone you love, just makes it sound awful. So we should maybe retire that term.
Yeah. And in saying that nobody should sacrifice anything in a relationship is just a recipe for a world where nobody gets married and settles down, because getting married and being in a long-term relationship requires sacrifice from everyone.
It's like kind of the point of any relationship with anyone.
Yep.
Well, yeah, you have to like give up stuff, and you know, everyone has
Go
to
through inconveniences for someone else's sake.
For instance, I don't like going to the vet, but I now have a cat that I go to the vet with because I have fallen in love and am getting married, and part of that is that we own a cat. And
Potentially
that cat,
all three.
And that cat is now a drain on our time, but we would rather be doing nothing else because we love it.
Hiroshima Otaru said social
That was
media
well said.
just accelerated what was inevitable. I don't know exactly what you're referring to.
Do you mean all the like disaster and grossness in culture?
I guess.
Well,
Must
they
be
found
that.
they made it more easily monetizable. You could say the same thing is happening to people of supposed intellectual might on X, as everything has become monetized, and no, it's not really about information anymore. It's about engagement.
Mm-hmm.
Adam said sunrise or sunset. Hate the waking up part, but I like a sunrise better.
I also really like a sunrise,
Yeah.
I'll be the lazy one here. Sunset.
but sunset is great. But I've always been an East Coast person, so it's got to be sunrise because that's the only one you really get over the ocean. I can't get like a sunset
Well, if you mean like
over the ocean.
really the East Coast,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
on the coast,
yeah. So I do like but like the way that if you like a sunset, I mean, if you like a sunrise, but you like staying up all night, then that's what you do is you stay up all night and then you go to bed after the sunrise, whatever.
I have done that, but I didn't enjoy it. I'm too old to be staying up all night these days.
Yeah, it's been a while for me, but my family had this shore house, and it's like right on the water, and so you could like, I would wake up early before the sunrise and then go lay out on the deck chair and wrap myself in blankets
Aw.
and watch the sunrise
That's so cozy.
that way, and then fall asleep on the porch for a while, which was lovely.
Mm-hmm. You can answer the poll, guys.
Yep, I
Brett
put a
put
poll
up
up.
a poll and asked.
Sunrise or sunset? Look at all these fuddy-duddies who want to wake up early and go to bed.
The sunrise, I swear it looks better than the sunset.
Sunset.
Shane H. Wilder said, I cannot lie, I do own their Sacred Heart socks. I'm not really into like flashy socks.
What about Ella Emhoff socks?
What are those?
She's partnered
Dare I
with
ask?
a sock brand. and
What?
Yeah.
Because she's literally the non-binary roommate named Sock.
Yeah, no, because she's a textile artist.
Oh, right, because she like really loves psychedelic crochet.
Yeah, she does all this wacky crochet. I saw this on Instagram. It was one of the Instagram ads.
I
for
thought
me.
that trend was gonna die like a long time ago.
Psychedelic textile art.
Yeah.
No,
Yikes, man.
no. I think soon it'll just be on skirts. You know, it'll have like new poodle skirts, but it'll be that pattern.
You know, she also needs to like grow up and kind of mature her dress sense and the way she presents herself.
She's going to be dressing like that when she's, you know,
because she's like
50.
older than me, right?
What was the meme? It said like,
Am I wrong?
Kamala Harris's stepdaughter looks like all the characters of Seinfeld put together.
Does
Well, she tried to have like a modeling career, which I guess is still like kind of
she
happening.
got signed to like, she got signed. I forget who.
She's
with.
25 and she dresses like she's 17. It's not the vibe. I think we're all caught up on the super chats though.
Well, so far Sunset
What
is
about the
winning
rants?
with 53. We're caught up. So far Sunset is winning with 53%.
Sunset is great, especially you could do like, you know, a little sunset cruise, little happy hour.
Well, just for me, growing up skating is you went out skating in the afternoon and you skated all day, then you skated till the sun went down. So I spent more time in Sunset than I ever did.
It's magic hour.
In Sunrise. Yep.
Another one from Empire State of Mind on this girlfriend therapy saga. I think it was phrased more that she should be living for herself and only doing things that make her happy. She completely changed into a different person after therapy.
Yep.
It happens
go
to a
to
lot
church,
of people.
not therapy. Church, not therapy.
Like-
that would be a good Pope merch.
yeah, but he doesn't want to be controversial, you know, I get it. There are good therapists. Just more often than not, they're the types who are going to encourage you to be selfish these days. There are good therapists, though.
Because they figure that they are good people simply because they are liberal. So they figure anything, because they're liberal, they are good people. And so anything they come up with in the liberal variety of things is good because they are good. They
They're
don't
like,
question themselves. They don't question their framework.
I've dedicated my life to being a therapist, which means I am an empath and I care about people. It's because I have like a title and a degree in something that means I am nice. That's kind of what they use to sleep at night. Shane H. Wilder said, wait, women crochet on psychedelics? I mean, maybe, probably, yes, but there's a subgenre of crochet that I assume Olivia has never delved into.
Of crocheting on
crocheter.
Psychedelics? Not that I've seen.
But it's called like psychedelic knits, and this was one of the biggest fashion trends for Gen Z last year.
So what was it? It was like...
Just crazy crochet tops, hats, you know, whatever. Bikinis even. That was a huge thing. Crochet
bikinis is weird because I feel like
Wouldn't that fabric just be horrible?
the chafing is...
there's that.
Yeah.
But then there's also, if you go in the water,
right, you
it's
can't
going to
wear
get
it.
waterlogged
In the
really
water.
fast, and it's just going to hang down, and
So
it's going to look like sagging skin. It's going to look really bad.
Right. And it's only for photos. You can't swim in it.
No.
Remember when what's her name?
Alyssa Milano and the
Alyssa
crochet
Milano wore
mask?
The crochet mask that had holes in it.
That I think about that periodically because it's just like she was so proud of it. She was look at me in my mask. She was so proud of it, and it was so stupid.
The best one was like the crystal net mask that Lana Del Rey wore, knowing that it was bullshit. And it was like, I know that you know that I know that you know that, like, I'm not afraid of this virus.
I like her. I like
She's
Lana
cool.
Del Rey.
Zach Yandel said, bro, have you seen the Switch 2 user agreement?
I have not been following any of the drama relating to the Switch 2, whether it be the cost of games for Nintendo, or any of this. But I'm guessing they're making you agree to terms that suck.
Oh, they're surveilling on you? Well,
Probably.
I don't know.
Probably. All right, guys. Well, actually, first I'm going to end this very, we'll call this a lightning poll.
Yeah.
It was very,
If
very
you
fast at the
didn't
end.
put in your vote, it's too late now.
Sunset wins with 52% of the vote.
That's surprisingly close.
All right. Guys, before we go, would you hit the like button on this video, please, and subscribe to the channel if you are new here and you have not subscribed here yet already. Whether on YouTube or on Rumble, we want you subscribing on both. So thank you guys so much for that. And Libby, thank you.
Thank you guys. Thanks, Brett. Thanks, Mary. You can find me at Libby Emmons on X. And also, if you wanted to subscribe to my newsletter, which I put out every day, I write it in the morning, you can do that. It is, to do so, you would go to thepostmillennial.com/Libby.
All
A
right.
newsletter every day? I thought you were doing it once a week.
No, it's ridiculous.
Did you start it out once a week?
No, I started out once a day,
Oh my
and then
gosh.
immediately I thought, this is awful. Why am I doing this?
I could never. That's impressive.
I would
But
never
yeah,
do
so
that.
now I wake up in the morning and
Wow.
I get my son
Good
off
for
to
you.
school, and then I write a newsletter.
Okay, you guys can send me validation on Instagram at Mary Archived, or you can send me hate on X. That is also Mary Archived.
All right, we got.
What?
I'm just making sure we're all caught up here. Didn't want to miss
think so.
anything. All right, guys. If you want to follow me, Instagram and Twix at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. We are here 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is noon Pacific. Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. If you would like to listen rather than watch this show, you can rate and review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, which is another great way to help us out. And if you follow us on social media, we are on Twix at popculture_show, Facebook at Pop Culture Crisis, Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. Guys, we will be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see y'all then. Bye
Bye.
everybody.